The bonus round continues with Robert Bowling, Andrea Renee, and Malik Forte. And this week we're talking about something everyone has had on their mind, DLC and season passes. Hey guys, we're back here on the bonus round at GameTrailers, and even though the Game Awards happened a few days ago, we are taping this beforehand, so either it was phenomenal and great, or I've gone into hiding. But anyways, we're here with Robert Bowling, Andrea Renee, and Malik Forte from Nerdist to talk about a topic that has nothing to do with awards, but a lot to do about what happened this year in gaming, which is this debate and discussion that I think has always been going on about downloadable content, season passes, sort of the business model of games and how much that is changing. And I think we've seen not only that side of it about gamers feeling like they're being over-monetized, but also another side of it, which is a lot of these games coming out that feel like unfinished, and there are all these patches, things aren't working. I even look at a game like Destiny, which, didn't get nominated for Game of the Year this year, and earlier in the year people would have been like, oh, that's a shoo-in to get nominated. No one even mentioned it as something that was left out. And that game was a game that, felt like it was looking for a different way to be released, but it became this sort of Call of Duty model, that it's like you had to put it out, there's going to be all these DLC packs and whatnot. So anyways, it's a long-winded introduction to get to this topic of DLC and how to approach it and what gamers expect for $60. So Malik, if I'm buying a game for $60 now, what do you think as a consumer I should be entitled to?
Just a complete experience from head to toe that feels complete, that feels like there's a start and a finish. And I feel what we're seeing a lot of are games that don't feel finished. They feel like they're taken out of the oven a little too early. And then there's a season pass that kind of completes that. And I think that's why we're seeing so many people kind of having an uprising about this.
Wait until they charge you for the patches.
Oh no! Don't even suggest that as a possibility.
Exactly. The day one patch is an extra $4.99.
Yeah, I think the day one patch may make some developers a little bit more cavalier about how they do things. And it's not even just developers; it's like the publishers kind of rushing to get these games out, to meet certain deadlines.
I think that's absolutely happening. I mean, I know that even with this year with the awards, where a lot of the judges were like, people kept pushing back when they were going to send us games because they wanted the day one patch to be ready and things like that. And there's games, over the years, there's one game I won't mention, but I think the day one patch actually patched in a new level because they were like, oh, we forgot to finish this level, so let's put it in there.
Oh my gosh.
So it's like, that happens sometimes. You never know, right? Because you just accept the patch. And it's like, I was joking a few weeks ago to my friend Stephen Totilo at Kotaku, and I was saying, like, someone should do a story on just, like, putting these games in and not downloading the day one patches and just sort of seeing what the experience is like, because you never know, right? Anyways, so
that's dangerous.
It could be dangerous.
That's super dangerous.
It could be dangerous.
Day one patches have become warfare. Did you hear about the Far Cry thing?
No, what's that?
Basically, they didn't patch in a certain feature, the field of view mode, on the PC version of Far Cry. Until the day one patch. So people who were complaining about there being no field of view mode are obviously people who pirated the game.
I saw that story today about how people were streaming, you could tell if they pirated it or not. So that's what it was.
Cool. Day one patches, man, they're like a new weapon almost.
But they also have a season pass too, right? Adding all of this extra content, and now we're seeing season pass trailers specifically.
Of course.
Saying, hey, give us your $60 for the game, and also give us your $20, $30, $50 extra, for all of this content that's coming out in the extra months. And as a gamer, I'm kind of torn because for games that I love, I like the idea that I get to get all of the DLC discounted because I know I'm going to buy it. But for a lot of games, especially new IP, a game like Destiny, how do you know you're going to fork over that $34.99 for the season expansion, the expansion season pass, when we haven't even experienced what Destiny is all about, and they're pushing things so hard with pre-orders now, and it's tough because I think a lot of people, from the consumer standpoint, gamers who are buying these games are accusing the publishers and developers of withholding content that should be on the disc, and it's most of the time already on the disc when the disc ships, and instead you have to pay to unlock it.
I agree. That's something that gamers have to sort of wonder about. And is there a solution as a developer side, Robert Bowling? When you're looking at this.
I'm very conflicted here, right? Like, there's a lot of emotions going through me right now because I have to look at it as owning a studio, running a studio, making games. I have to look at it from the business perspective, right? As well as the creative perspective and the gamer perspective, right? And they all feel kind of differently about it. But it reminds me back. Remember when you couldn't even pre-order games? Like, buying a game before it existed didn't exist at one point, right? And then we realized that getting money now is better than getting money later. And the same thing evolved with DLC and everything. But from a creative standpoint, there are studios that can shut down in between shipping a game and receiving day one sales. Right? And then there are certain publisher milestones attached to whether you're going to stay open to do DLC and support a game, right? So from a creative standpoint, getting all that early money in is vital to even supporting the game, right? So in a very real way, some of this content won't exist if these season passes didn't exist, right? And this pre-ordering of DLC didn't exist. Of course, that doesn't apply to billion-dollar studios where there's no question they're going to be doing post-launch support, right? But there are two sides
that it's
to
like
this.
you're almost saying that people have to, almost kickstart sort of the DLC, saying like, hey, we want to do it in order for it to happen.
It's showing that there's support for the game,
right.
There's hype for the game, and that you should probably not shut down operations and move on to the next IP just yet.
No, you're right, because that's the other tough thing is like you don't know how a game's going to sell, so it's like then what do you do with DLC? Do you make this big commitment? But the thing that I've never understood personally about season passes is you don't really know quite what you're getting. And it's like sometimes it's this mix of like single player or multiplayer. I remember even with like BioShock Infinite, like, yeah, they're going to be these two story things. It's like, what were they really going to be? Was it going to be interesting? Like, I don't see, I guess you save a couple bucks when you buy a season's pass, but I don't know. I don't see the incentive to make it.
And honestly, the developer probably doesn't know what you're getting either.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? The only person who knows is a marketing guy came in and he says, we need 12 months of content. Give me some loose, high-level description of what it could possibly be. Is it maps? Is it characters? Is it weapons? Just give me a category and I'll go raise money around that category, right? Like, let's not confuse ourselves that all of this is driven by marketing, right? Doesn't mean it's malicious or has ill intentions. It has good intentions, but like you said, you don't know what it is, and the developer probably doesn't know what it is 12 months down the line.
Yeah, so that's why it feels weird to me that people have to lock in. But you're saying if people don't lock in for season pass early enough, they just don't do it? Because I feel like I've never heard of DLC really being canceled for games. I guess it happens maybe, but
you're talking about the smaller games, right? Exactly, that can happen with. And the thing that I think is important is we always had DLC and season passes hurt more when the game is broken at launch, right? Even though those are two totally independent issues, right? Development and post-launch support are totally different. But it makes us bitter when a game's broken and you're asking for money for a broken game.
Right. Well, it was, even like when Assassin's Creed Unity came out, and there was all this hype about a lot of season pass stuff they were doing with that cool like 2.5 sort of DLC game. Set in China and stuff, but right now people just like fix my game. It's like that's the that's the free DLC.
So it's hard to have that conversation. I feel like publishers need to have the season pass conversation and let developers have the patch and update conversations.
So as a consumer though, do you think should consumers or gamers be pushing back and saying like I don't want to buy a season pass? I mean I remember bought a season pass. I don't know about you guys. Like it just doesn't. It seems to me it feels weird. To sort of like
I bought a couple season passes. I bought the BioShock Infinite season pass because I really
knew I was
wanted
gonna
to play the
it.
Rapture stuff. But I didn't play the first piece of content that came out, that arena shooter. I can't remember what it was called.
The clouds, sky, or whatever.
Yeah, something. But I think that people are speaking out. If you look at a lot of the forums, people are saying, hey, like, we don't want any more season passes, don't give them to us. But that's what makes it so confusing, is that if people are being vocal about the fact that they don't like the idea of a season pass, I mean, they're not going away, they're getting more and more prevalent, they're more common. And I think the reason why people are maybe getting burnt about season passes is what you were talking about, is this broken game at launch. And I think Battlefield 4 was a perfect example of that, right? So this game continues to be broken, but they continue to sell DLC for it, so it's like somebody's buying this stuff. So obviously it's working for somebody, and really if consumers want to do away with DLC and season passes, they need to vote with their dollars, and right now their dollars are saying we want more season passes.
Well, that's why I just wonder if the model eventually switched, like I mentioned from Destiny. It's like it would have been better, I think, with that game if they would have had it as like an open beta in the summer and then kept that going from the alpha and beta and then slowly onboarded people, maybe start to charge for content, but not this like, we have, you're going to charge you $60 in September for it, and then we've got this expansion coming out. I think it's coming out this Tuesday actually, where that Dark Below, and that'll come out. And yeah, it's tough because as gamers, it's like, do you want to keep going back in? And the attach rates, as you know, Bowling, I mean, some people buy DLC, but I mean, it's probably what, like a good DLC attach rate is what, like 20%, right?
Yeah, yeah. You're talking about your hardcore guys.
Right.
You're going back to the well of the hardcore over and over again.
Which are the people that are on the forums always talking about it. That's what, to me, it's like...
So what's by
Exactly. Yeah, they're the really super core groups. That's what's interesting to me. It's not like, and I don't know the stats, but I imagine like a DLC, if you get, 2 out of every 10 people to pick it up, that's like a big success.
Yeah, and I think, DLC isn't going away. We need to shape, as gamers, I'm talking now, we need to shape what a season pass is, right? Because options are never a bad thing. When season passes first came out, it was about having the option to know you're going to play a game 100 hours, so just go ahead and, for the convenience, buy a season pass so you don't have to remember when stuff's coming out, right? You get a little benefit for upfront. What it has evolved into, because of marketing, in my opinion, is now there's exclusive things to season pass. They treat it like pre-order, retail bonuses, stuff that pisses people off, right? It was like, the only way you get this skin, the only way you get this map is if you buy the season pass. And then now you're segmenting your audience. You're separating the elite versus everybody else. And that's where season passes.
Well, that's why you guys ran into trouble with Call of Duty, where it was like Call of Duty Elite and that whole idea of like, you remember the maps and things were going to come out first for Elite and all that?
Yeah, it is. I mean, from a DLC standpoint, segmenting your audience is always bad. It always degrades the experience, no matter how you cut it.
Right. No, especially when you're talking about MP.
Yes,
that's part of the challenge. When you get single player content, that can work. But I feel like most of the season pass stuff tends to be MP focused and things like that, just because it's easier for developers to do. And that's why, like BioShock, like that was a massive undertaking for the amount of money they spent on that. I'm sure they lost money on all that DLC stuff that they did. I think story-driven DLC was tough.
Yeah, I think the idea of like including like maps in these DLC packs is ridiculous. And to be honest, like Killzone 2 was a great example of that, because they released like maps that were DLC and not everybody could buy those maps, so they completely split up their player base. And there you go.
I remember even Last of Us, like they had this amazing story DLC Left Behind, and then a bunch of map packs. And it's like, to me, that's all, it's a season pass, but probably there's a segment that just wants one thing or just wants the other. So that's why I'm surprised the gamers end up buying the season pass stuff. But you're right, I think the publishers all say, like, let's tie this all together. Well, we'll see what happens in 2015, but I'm sure there will be many more season passes to come. Next week, the bonus round will be in Las Vegas for the PlayStation Experience. We're actually there right now, here in early December. But next Sunday, bonus round will be there. We'll get some developers on. We're going to talk about all things PlayStation and react to some of the news and announcements from the show. We'll see you next Sunday right here on GT.